I was doing a kind of a deep dive into Daredevil Born Again and how we got this version. At one point, it wasn't going to be a continuation. It was going to be a complete reboot. Okay. If you remember, Foggy wasn't in this. Right. Karen wasn't in it at all. Bullseye wasn't going to be in this. The actress who plays Vanessa wasn't. They changed her out. So they kind of rehauled this, and we have a couple things to thank for this. We have the writer's strike, because that's what put everything on pause and gave them some time to dig into, I think it was 5 or 6 episodes they had done at that point, and Marvel's like, we're not really happy with this. And then the other part of it was your boy Charlie Cox and your boy Vinny D. They weren't happy with where this was going either, so they were smart enough to go, y'all are fucking this shit up. This is why we almost got a reboot and how Daredevil and Fisk saved the Daredevil show, okay? Now, ahead of the release of season 3, we're going back to the Netflix era. The show was expected to be renewed for a 4th season. It was a very popular show, critically acclaimed. Mm-hmm. And then on November 29th of 2018, Netflix canceled the series after 3 seasons. They said that the show will remain on their service, but the character would live on in future projects for Marvel. But here's the thing. There's contracts with these characters. It's not just like comics. So the characters could not appear in any non-Netflix series or films for at least 2 years following the cancellation of Daredevil. So that was the end of 2018. Mm-hmm. So for 19 and 20, you can't use Daredevil, any of these characters, right? There was a dispute between Netflix and Marvel's over the rights to them, and Disney wanted to have these characters for their own streaming services. Contract prevented that. And there were disagreements over the episode orders, the showrunners, the budget, creative direction. So it was kind of like Marvel wanted to go in one direction because Netflix had these contracts for, they wanted to go another direction. And there was disputes there, and I guess Netflix just said, you know what, fuck it, we'll cancel this shit. There were creative changes made that they weren't happy about. Netflix was really looking to create more of an original series and have more control over it, but obviously Marvel's like, dude, this is part of our whole universe. We want this to play into it. The cast and crew thought the show was going to last for 5 seasons, with a new antagonist being introduced in the 4th season, and then a final showdown between Daredevil and Fisk/Kingpin in the 5th. Obviously none of that happened. When this was canceled and Marvel decided to bring these characters into their universe, Kevin Feige insisted that they brought back Charlie Cox and Vinny D. Okay? Mm-hmm. He felt the pair were pretty much linked to these characters, just like Robert Downey Jr. to Tony Stark and Chris Evans to, Captain America, right? Which I definitely agree. These guys embody those characters. Feige contacted Charlie Cox in June of 2020 about reprising his role, and he announced that he would be returning for Marvel Studios projects in December 21. We're 2 years past this. We've seen him in Spider-Man No Way Home, right? Brief scene. We saw him in She-Hulk, right? He, banged She-Hulk and the whole deal. And then we saw Vinny D reprise the role of Fisk in the Hawkeye show and then in the Echo show. Right. So they're starting to trickle them in. In March of 22, Daredevil was moved from Netflix to Disney Plus, so they Netflix now out completely. And then in January of 22, Marvel decided to make a new Daredevil-led series, right? So that was when the news broke about Born Again originally. The series was confirmed to be in development late May of that year, and they were kind of pitching this as a reimagination of Daredevil. So this was the original. The series was originally announced to have 18 episodes for the first season, and they were working on 2 seasons, and there'd be some gigantic payoffs in the second. Directors were hired for blocks of episodes. There was a complete creative overhaul, though, in September 23. So initially, this was going to be not connected to the old series. Yes, we'd have Charlie Cox and Vinny D reprise their roles. Foggy, Karen, Bullseye, all not going to be in it. New Vanessa, whole new story, 18 episodes. And there were the writer's strikes back in 23, put this thing on hold. Marvel started reviewing these episodes. I think there were 6 of them done, and they were like, we don't like where this is going. Does
Marvel have any say in anything? I mean, it just just prostituted itself
Yeah.
almost to like anybody. I mean,
Absolutely.
Netflix, Sony, Disney. It's like, why are they even in the picture other than
Right.
they created the
Well, they were
characters?
broke, dude. So back in the early 90s, Marvel was like on the verge of bankruptcy.
Right.
So they leased out their fucking characters to stay afloat. And it was kind of like, hey, we'll let you borrow these. You give us some money. We build our shit back up. Oh, now we want them back type shit.
Right.
Which in the long run, it worked out.
Now, leasing I could see, but
Yeah.
just giving it holds. I mean,
Yep.
just selling off everything. Come on.
I guess when you're on the verge of bankruptcy,
You desperate?
you're desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now now it all worked out in the long run because they bought everything back except for the Sony characters. But so the
under Disney.
yes, under Disney. The two head writers were let go once they realized this shit ain't working. And so were the directors for the remaining series. They brought in new directors. They even said in the original show that Daredevil didn't appear until the 4th episode. So you think there isn't no Daredevil now. I mean, he wasn't in costume till the 4th episode. The other guys that got fired were still going to be credited as executive producers. And Brad Winterbaum, the head of streaming, said that he believed that they could play it loose with the history of Daredevil, but when they reviewed what had been shot, they realized they would either have to fully embrace the show or start over fresh. Because this kind of like in between loose ties didn't work. And Vinny D said it was Feige in particular who listened to him and Charlie Cox when the pair expressed their concerns. So they went like, dude, this fucking sucks. We can't do this. And they actually listened to him. So a new duo was brought in, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. They worked on Moon Knight in the 2nd season of Loki. They were hired to direct the remaining episodes of the 1st season. And then soon after they joined, they decided that this should go back to the tone of the Netflix series. Even that the tone wasn't the same either. It was even rumored to be almost like comedic at times. Could you imagine that? Like a She-Hulk version of Daredevil?
No.
Which sounds like that's what they were doing.
No.
And they brought these guys back, and basically they helped kind of reshape this into what we've seen. They took the 18 episodes, cut it down into 8 episodes, 2 seasons, and brought back a lot of the elements that were removed. Like they brought Foggy back into the fold. They brought Karen back. They actually got rid of the act. So they had another actress playing Vanessa. They filmed the scenes, and then when they did this reboot, they got rid of her, brought in the past,
The original one.
the original girl, Ayer, what's her name? I forget her name, but brought her back, the OG Vanessa, and had to reshoot all those scenes with her. So I think that's why sometimes Fisk looks different.
Right.
Because he's done with this. So if he bulked up for the role, he's going to slim back down. But if they need him for a reshoot, it's hard to gain, 50 pounds for, a reshoot next week.
Right.
So they had to reshoot all of that. And the last thing he said was they're open to bringing more elements from Daredevil and other Marvel's Netflix series, such as Elektra, The Hand, and other members of the Defenders team. So all in all, that's why we ended up with what we got, and that's why it was pretty close to being a giant fucking plate of dog shit. I mean, because you hear this, Pat, like where they were going sounds pretty bad.
It does.
Right? Like I know, like you were just saying, you like to wait till you see it, but we never saw that. Obviously, someone did and said it was a big plate of dog shit. But based on how that was explained, it sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
Right.